Hello everyone. In case you missed my intro video, my name is Nicole Leonard. I'm Hopi from the village of Sitsimovi and I'm a member of the Deer Clan. I will be teaching a virtual online class here on the Facebook page on how to make a scrunchy wristlet lanyard. And here's what the lanyard looks like when it's done. So today I wanted to give you a list of the supplies you'll need in case you do want to follow along with the class. So when I teach the class, I will be sewing the scrunchie on the sewing machine, but that's not necessary. If you don't have a sewing machine, you can easily sew this by hand. It's a really quick and easy project, great for beginners, or even if you've been sewing for a long time. It's a fun make. It's definitely a scrap buster if you have a lot of scraps laying around. And with Mother's Day coming up, it's a good little gift to make a couple of and give out as presents. So I hope you all join me in learning how to make this scrunchy wristlet lanyard. So first things first, here's a closer look at how the scrunchy lanyard is constructed. And so you will need a piece of cotton fabric that's 21 inches wide and 21 inches long and 3 inches wide. Then you will need a strip of elastic for the scrunchy part, and it needs to be 3/4 inches wide and 7 inches long. Next, this is mesh webbing strap. It is 1 inch wide and will need to be cut at 2.5 inches long. Then you'll need coordinating thread, a needle if you're going to sew it by hand, the key ring to attach your keys to, a safety pin to turn the fabric because we will be sewing a casing for the elastic. So you'll need to turn it right side out. And I'll be using clips, but pins will work just fine, and some scissors. So first thing that you're going to do is cut a 3-inch wide strip by 21 inches long of your cotton fabric. So before you start sewing, you're going to fold the raw edges in. So just like that. So the end of it's going to look like that. And here's the inside. And then you put the pretty sides together. The right sides of your fabric, you put them together. And then I just clip it to hold it in place, and then you're gonna do that to the other side. So both ends should look like this. And then before I sew it, I clip it together just so it stays in place and it's all straight before I head to the sewing machine. So what clipping it together does is it keeps the raw edges from showing when you put it together. So it'll give you this nice folded in finished look as opposed to the raw edge just sticking out and the threads hanging out when you're done. So either with your needle and thread or taking it to the sewing machine, you're just going to do a straight stitch all the way down, closing these two ends together. So just down this one whole line. So here's what it looks like when you have it all sewn together. It's just a tube of fabric. So now you're going to take your safety pin and you're going to pin it to one end. I like to do it to where there's 2 layers of fabric just because it's stronger. And then you're going to push this through, grabbing it with your other hand. And you just push the safety pin through and scrunch up the fabric. And every so often, you're going to pull the inside or the outside of it so it starts turning it. So you're going to pull it all the way through and it's just going to flip right side out. And then you take the ends to where you folded them over and make sure that they're tucked in so that, again, like I said, you have the nice finished edge as opposed to the side or the fabric threads all sticking out the raw edge. So now that you have your tube all turned out, it's just going to be a long one, 2 holes at the end. You're going to set that aside, and then you're going to work with your elastic and your webbing. Again, this is 7 inches long and 3/4 width elastic. And then the mesh webbing is 1 inch wide and 2.5 inches long. So you're going to put one end to one end like this, and you're going to kind of overlap it. And I like to clip it, but you don't have to. And you're going to do a straight stitch going along this black line to hold it together. What you can also do is take a lighter to the end of this webbing, because it can sometimes unravel. So if you just run it across there real quick, it seals it off so that it doesn't do that. So I already went ahead and do that, but you can do that now before you sew it together. So we're just doing one side for now. So see, there's my elastic and my webbing connected with, I went over it twice just to make sure it's secure with the stitching. So now you put your safety pin on here on this end, just so it helps you pull it through after this next step. So go ahead and put that through in there. And you want to make sure your seam of your fabric is facing the stitch of the elastic and the mesh. It just gives it a little more finished look at the end. So I just put it just enough to cover that elastic. So I just hold it in place with some clips again. So now you're going to kind of flatten this out and then pull that safety pin through to the other side. So again, just move the safety pin and then pull the outside of the fabric so it helps it move through. See, and you can see it already start to take shape like a scrunchie. So I just put a pin right here and hold the fabric and the elastic in place just in case I let it go and it wants to go flying. So now what we're going to do is, so remember your elastic is on this side with the seam. So you're going to put your elastic on the same side of the mesh. Let me take this safety pin off. On the other side. So you're going to go ahead and do a stitch right down along there to combine the two again. So there's that elastic. Here's the first side we did. There's that elastic connected to the other side. So you can take this off. That just holds it in place in case you let it go and it wants to go flying off. So you just move your fabric over it, cover the elastic. I try to make sure they're fairly centered. But of course, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's a scrunchie. It's all going to kind of bunch up. And then, so once it's covering the elastic, what you're going to do is fold it in half so that these two seams, the fabric seams, are touching. So you fold it in half like that. And then I clip it side to side. You're going to kind of want to make sure they kind of even up so that it's all just one kind of bit. And then you're going to do you're going to do a stitch along here to join everything together. So if you're doing it by hand, it's going to be a little tough because you're sewing through 2 layers of mesh, 2 layers of elastic, and 4 layers of cotton, but it can be done. So for me personally, what I do is I do sometimes 4 layers back and forth. Just that's my own little preference to make sure that it stays all together. So again, you're going to do a stitch just along here to keep everything together. So you see here is mine all sewed together. And then, so it kind of takes shape now. And you can move your fabric around so it's all even. Looks like a scrunchie. And then you take your key ring, open it up, move it through, and there you go. So you could essentially just put the key ring on the elastic, but I like the mesh webbing because it seems to hold it in place more. And then too, the key ring doesn't snag on the fabric. It could pull, you know, the threads loose or whatever, but this, I feel, keeps it more secure. And there you go. You have your scrunchy wristlet lanyard. It's so cute. Yeah, I encourage you guys all to, you know, play with different fabric. You know, you could use denim or even the floral scarves. I know some people are interested in making stuff with that. The only thing is those are very fragile, and because they're made of acrylic, they're very lightweight, and they can catch on things really easily. You know, if you're going to have keys on here, you're going to be kind of throwing them all around, and even the keys themselves could get stuck on it. So I don't know how much I'd recommend that, but it's an option. You can also mess around with the measurements of, you know, the materials you use. Like the fabric, for instance, if you cut it wider than 3 inches, it'll, you know, kind of be a little more fluffy, the scrunchie. Or if you cut it longer, it will be more scrunched up because there's more fabric to go around, you know, the elastic. There's also the mesh webbing. Mine, for instance, is pretty long, my personal one, compared to this little one. That's because I like to put a carabiner through mine, and so I can hook it onto my purse or whatnot. And I'm not sure what a carabiner would fit through here. So that's another thing to take into account. But yeah, I hope you all make it your own and have fun with it. And I hope to see more wristlet scrunchie lanyards out there. If you have any questions, Native Health has my information. Go ahead and contact me if you would like. Thank you. Have a good day.